Episode 1 of Black Doves opens during Christmas celebrations, with news circulating online about the death of a Chinese ambassador. Meanwhile, Jason Davies leaves a busy pub and hurries home, visibly nervous. He calls Maggie, who then contacts Philip, expressing fear that he is being followed. Before they can act, both Maggie and Philip are assassinated. Desperate, Jason makes another call, but before help can arrive, he is shot in the heart and left for dead on a bench. The incident appears linked to the ambassador's death, tying into the story of Helen Webb. Helen is married to Defense Secretary Wallace, who is under immense stress due to recent events. At a Christmas charity party, Helen is approached by a mysterious woman named Reed, who brings up Jason's murder. It's revealed that Helen had been having an affair with Jason for 3 months, claiming it was love rather than anything else. She hasn't yet opened a Christmas present Jason gave her. Helen is secretly working undercover in Downing Street, feeding information for nearly a decade. Reed reassures her that her family is safe and advises her to stay put, as they lack another operative to take over her mission. However, Jason's murder raises concerns, and Reed calls in a contact named Sam from Rome to track down potential assassins. When Wallace is called away for urgent business, Helen decides to investigate Jason's life. She visits his apartment, pretending to be his partner, and listens to a voicemail.
Me? I know I shouldn't do this, but
Soon after, police arrive at the door, but they are actually assassins. Helen fights them off, but a struggle ensues. Just as she's about to be overpowered, Sam intervenes, killing one of the attackers with a shotgun. Helen, injured but alive, retrieves a hidden hard drive from the vents and escapes with Sam. Helen's marriage to Wallace is strained, but she stays due to their 2 children and her comfortable life. She's also positioned to become the next prime minister's wife. Back home, she accesses the hard drive, finding their old undeleted messages, a series of missed calls from an unknown number, and a mention to Philip that someone named Cy has been caught on video. Meanwhile, Helen discovers Wallace is also having an affair with his assistant Danny. Sam, continuing his investigation, finds the sniper's location and a bullet casing. He contacts an associate, George, to run prints and DNA. Helen meets Reed at a cinema, where Reed warns her against getting too involved. She hands Helen a newspaper containing the number Jason last called and urges her to investigate. Meanwhile, tensions rise as the Chinese authorities suspect foul play in the ambassador's death. Adding to the mystery, his daughter, Kai-Ming Chen, is missing. The final reveal: the unknown number Jason was desperately trying to reach. It belongs to Kai-Ming Chen.
I can translate, so...
Episode 2 takes us into Helen's past, revealing that her real name is Daisy. She heads to an interview for a translation job, where it's mentioned that her parents are deceased, and she has a stepsister, Bonnie, who is serving a life sentence. Bonnie was in prison just before Helen left the country, raising suspicions. Though Helen doesn't get the job, she is given Reed's number and told to call with the phrase, "Little Black Dove." Helen is fluent in French, German, and Russian, making her a strong candidate for recruitment. Reed sees her potential as a field agent, recognizing her survival instincts and combat skills. Under the new identity of Helen, she attends a speech given by Wallace. He struggles with public speaking, but she quickly seduces him, steals files from his laptop, and hands them over to her partner, Sam. However, Helen makes mistakes. She accidentally mentions her real name in conversation and leaves behind a sentimental lighter from her mother in Wallace's hotel room. This oversight eventually leads to her becoming deeply entangled in Wallace's life. In the present, Helen and Sam investigate Elmore Fitch, former SAS marksman. Their efforts are briefly sidetracked when Sam, having mistakenly taken ketamine instead of cocaine, is visibly impaired. Despite this, they track Elmore to his apartment, only to realize it's a trap. The flat is rigged to explode. They barely escape, diving into a canal just in time. Helen returns home, but is soon confronted by Elmore, who demands a video camera that Kai-Ming has. He admits he was hired to kill Jason, but doesn't know who his employers are. He was simply given a 24-hour deadline and allowed to name his price, $100,000. Realizing she won't get more information, Helen kills Elmore in the garden shed and cleans up the scene. Meanwhile, Sam crosses paths with an old acquaintance, Lenny, and her 2 guards. He once worked for her as a hitman, but failed to kill a man named Hector Newman when ordered. Lenny is now demanding that Sam finish the job. If he refuses, she threatens to go after his ex, Michael, whom Sam still cares about. It turns out Hector is holding Kai-Ming hostage. However, before Sam can act on this, Reed and Helen call him to a meeting in a parking lot. They discuss how Kai-Ming is the key to everything. She connects all the recent killings, which means Helen is now a target. Helen digs deeper and suspects that Cy refers to Stephen Yerrick, the police commissioner. At Jason's funeral, she plants a bug and listens in as Stephen and Wallace discuss the ambassador's death. Wallace learns little, but Stephen's indifferent demeanor suggests he's hiding something. There's also growing concern that the Americans may be orchestrating events behind the scenes, potentially leading to war. Sam, meanwhile, sets out to complete Lenny's assignment. However, when he arrives, he finds a massacre. Dead bodies everywhere. A video camera is pointed at a mattress where Kai Ming lies unconscious. On the footage, a gunfight breaks out, and Hector turns to face the camera. Realizing the situation has taken a dangerous turn, Sam mutters, "Shit." Episode 3 begins in 2014, right as Helen heads back inside the hotel. Sam returns to Reed, who reminds him that he's been pushing to be part of the organization. Reed is amused that he also wants to be a hitman for Lenny, pointing out that no one knows if they can kill until they try. However, she makes it clear. If Sam works with Lenny, he can't work for her. Their objectives are different. Reed focuses on espionage and gathering intelligence, while Lenny is all about assassinations. Sam is briefed by Lenny, who is also surprised that this is his first job. Still, Sam follows through, showing up at the target location and making the kill. However, his hands are shaking, and Lenny calls afterward, warning him that this will be the hardest hit he'll ever do. 6 months later, Sam trains Helen in combat and assassination. This is also where he first meets Michael, and sparks fly immediately as they lock eyes across the bar. Fatefully, their first dinner date happens at the same restaurant where Sam completed his first hit. Fast forward to 2017, and Sam and Michael are thriving as a couple. Meanwhile, Helen is getting deeper into her relationship with Wallace and settling into her espionage role. News breaks that the Conservatives have won a majority, bringing Wallace and Helen further into the political spotlight. At the same time, Sam is fully embedded in Lenny's world, assigned to eliminate the Newman brothers. There are 3 of them, but a 4th sibling, Hector, is unaccounted for. Lenny orders Sam to kill all of them, including the boy, Hector, who turns out to be a child. After killing the first 3 brothers, Sam hesitates when he finds Hector in the backseat of a car. He realizes he can't go through with it, and spares him. This moment explains why Lenny is furious with him in the present. The next morning, an assassin breaks into Sam's apartment. He manages to take out the first attacker, but Hector is clearly behind the ambush, as more cars arrive outside. This also explains why Sam initially went on the run. Back in the present, Sam updates Lenny on what he's uncovered. Hector is in Peckham, holed up in a heavily fortified location. However, Lenny is uneasy. She knows Sam has a good heart, but in this business, kindness mixed with a bloody past is a dangerous combination. Determined to take down Hector, Sam enlists 2 ruthless assassins working with Lenny, Williams, and Eleanor to storm Hector's base. Before that, he meets Helen for coffee, but this isn't a casual catch-up. Helen brings up the recording of Stephen Yerrick and insists they need to focus on him for answers. At a school nativity play, Sam confronts Stephen, making him sweat. Stephen refuses to reveal who he's working with, including the mysterious number saved in his phone as repair shop. He eventually walks away, claiming he can't help. Sam lets him go, but secretly slips his phone into Jacqueline's bag. Helen decides to text repair shop, warning them that she will find them. To her shock, they reply with the same message. The chase is on. Though rattled, she puts on a brave face and attends an evening event with Wallace. Meanwhile, Wallace meets with Chinese officials, who are furious about recent events. In a private conversation in the kitchen, the Chinese claim the police were involved in covering up the ambassador's death. They have footage from outside Kai Ming's apartment showing a man, Cole Atwood, fleeing an hour before her kidnapping. Cole is a CIA agent and also Kai Ming's boyfriend. The Chinese have tracked him from the crime scene to the US Embassy, where he has remained ever since. The Chinese demand a solution, immediately. Later, Helen speaks with Danny, Wallace's assistant. Danny wears quirky socks, a reference to their previous flirty messages, which Helen originally mistook as being about underwear, interrupted by a call from repair shop. The message is chillin'. It contains footage of Stephen being tortured and then murdered. Helen and Wallace are urgently called away, but as they leave, Danny cryptically says, "When a door closes, a window opens." The phrase sticks with Helen. Meanwhile, the flashbacks return to the past, where we see the unfinished story of Sam and Michael. Sam had called Helen for help, asking her to get Michael out of danger. Sam was shot in the process, but this moment solidified Helen's decision. She was too deep into this world to ever leave. In the present, Sam, Williams, and Eleanor gear up to storm Hector's stronghold and finish the job. Episode 4 begins with Sam and his team arriving in Christmas gear, ambushing Hector and his men. However, Hector gets the jump on Sam and taunts him when they are left alone. He warns that many people are after Kai Ming and that Sam shouldn't have come back. With that, Hector escapes. Eleanor and Williams capture Kaiming, and Sam decides to hide her somewhere safe and off the grid. Meanwhile, Wallace meets with the Prime Minister and the Secret Service to discuss last episode's events with the Chinese. With Stephen Yerrick now dead, the meeting includes the U.S. Chief, Mitch. Wallace brings up Cole Atwood's CIA ties, but Mitch stonewalls him. Their tense conversation is interrupted by breaking news. Yerrick's body has been found dumped in a skip. That night, Helen calls repair shop, but the voice on the other end describes themselves only as a secretary within a larger organization. When Helen asks about her family, they stay silent. She is soon distracted when Wallace comes home in tears, shaken by Stephen's death. The next morning, Sam visits Michael, who's not pleased to see him. Returning to the safe house, Sam finds Lenny waiting for him, and she's furious about the mess he's made. Meanwhile, Reed and Helen meet to discuss Cole Atwood. An interested party wants Helen to put pressure on Atwood, essentially forcing him to betray his country. Helen has a contact inside the U.S. Embassy, Vanessa, who can help her get close to him. Her mission? Offer Cole a way out in exchange for a hefty payout. Before heading to the embassy, Helen meets with Sam and the assassins. She has history with them, particularly Williams, whom she fought inside Jason's apartment. After a tense moment, Kaiming wakes up. Kaiming reveals that she and Cole panicked after discovering her father's dead body in her flat. She fled to a warehouse in South London, where she was later held hostage by Hector's crew. They wouldn't let her leave once they realized who she was. They also questioned her about Trent, a heroin dealer she knew. Kaiming doesn't have a direct connection to Jason, but she knows that he was Maggie's partner. This revelation rattles Helen. It means Jason had secrets she never knew. Through brief flashbacks, we see that Helen had confessed to Jason that she was a black dove, meaning he knew everything, but now she feels lost. Arriving at the embassy, Helen gets inside with help from Vanessa. At the same time, Sam distracts Vanessa with a phone call. Meanwhile, Helen fights a security guard inside an elevator before slipping away to meet Cole Atwood with Reed's envelope. The alarm goes off when the security guard's body is found, forcing Helen to quickly hand over the documents. Atwood takes the deal and escapes the embassy unnoticed. On the road, Cole reveals that the true power behind these events is a criminal organization called the Clarks. A powerful crime family, they have quietly taken control of London's underworld and are expanding internationally. Everything ties back to London, meaning Kaiming and the assassins are in danger. Her dealer, Trent, is a privileged trust fund kid, but also the weak link in the Clark family. His mother, Alex Clark, runs the London operation. The Chinese ambassador's death halted an investigation into them, but Cole believes the Clarks are erasing all evidence. Helen unknowingly walks into a trap. She finds herself surrounded by Chinese agents, who are also working with Reed. It turns out Reed's highest bidder comment was about them. Realizing they are being played, Helen and Sam make a run for it. Meanwhile, at the office, Danny speaks to Wallace after a drink. She hints that Helen has been keeping secrets. She implies that Helen is being unfaithful, but doesn't elaborate, for now. Episode 5 begins in the past, following Williams as she escapes, after her partner is killed in the apartment. She rushes to Eleanor, who is on a barge, and immediately enlists her help. In the present, Wallace leaves Danny for a meeting with the Chinese ambassador. The CIA chief is also present, furious about the attack on the embassy. The US believes the Chinese are responsible, while the UK refuses to supply military contracts to China. The political stakes are high, and negotiations have hit a stalemate. Meanwhile, Eleanor and Williams exchange lighthearted banter as they prepare for the Clark attack. With Kaiming hiding in the bathtub, the two work to hold off the attackers. Meanwhile, Sam, Cole, and Helen escape their captors by stealing a black cab and rushing to the safe house, only to find it under siege by the Clarks. Helen and Cole stay in the car, while Sam fights his way inside. In the end, the Clarks abduct Kaiming and Eleanor, while Sam manages to save Williams. Helen decides their only option is to take refuge at Michael's place. Michael is furious that Sam has dragged this chaos to his doorstep, but reluctantly agrees to help. The Clarks, now revealed as the ones behind the repair shop number, call with an ultimatum. They want the digital recording device in exchange for Kaiming and Eleanor's lives. If Helen and the others don't comply, everyone will die. The wildcard here is Trent. If Cole doesn't deliver, he too will be eliminated. In private, Helen confesses to Sam that she made a mistake. Before Jason's death, she revealed her true identity to him. Though Jason claimed nothing would change, he was killed a week later. Helen is convinced his murder is connected to everything happening now. Helen's train of thought is interrupted by a call from her nanny. When she finally reunites with Wallace, he's suspicious about her absence and subtly brings up her affair. However, before they can talk further, Officer Perryman arrives, questioning Helen's ties to the U.S. Embassy. Her name has triggered a red flag, but she dodges further questioning, excusing herself to put the kids to bed. Wallace is clearly growing more suspicious. He tells Helen he loves her and their family. She looks on the verge of confessing the truth, but instead leaves to meet Reed. Reed admits to working with the Chinese, but her answers remain vague. Helen confronts her, insisting that the Clarks are behind everything and must be eliminated. Reed disagrees, arguing that the Clarks are too well protected and untouchable. The conversation shifts to Jason's death and the U.S. Embassy's interest in Helen. Reed is concerned that Helen has violated the rules of the Doves. She issues an ultimatum: turn over Cole Atwood before this spirals into an international crisis. As Helen leaves, Reed calls Sam, interrupting his heartfelt conversation with Michael. She assigns him one final job: kill Alex Clark. Sam refuses, but Reed insists this is necessary to protect the Doves. Cole Atwood is also a target, but he's already gone. Later, it's revealed he has returned to the U.S. Embassy. Sam attempts to assassinate Alex Clark, but she is prepared for him. Her right-hand man knocks Sam out before he can strike. Meanwhile, it is revealed that Danny is also a Dove. Reed decides to let her off the leash. Helen figures out where the recording device is hidden inside a jewelry store vault. However, just as she is about to retrieve it, Danny arrives. Helen accuses Danny of being desperate, and a fight breaks out. It is short-lived, as Helen quickly gains the upper hand. So, what's on the device? The footage reveals Trent murdering Chen after Chen tried to warn him to stay away from Kai Ming. Moments later, Stephen Yarrick arrives with his men, covering up the crime by staging it as a drug overdose. Even more shocking, the Prime Minister is involved. Episode 6 begins with Sam regaining consciousness after being knocked out. He wakes up to find Eleanor and Kai Ming tied to chairs. Meanwhile, Helen calls Reed, informing her that Danny is dead and that Sam has walked straight into a trap by going to the Clark's address. With nowhere else to turn, Helen grabs Williams, and together they head to find Trent. They show him the surveillance footage and threaten him, forcing him to arrange a meeting with Alex Clark. As the meet is set up, Reed manipulates events behind the scenes, alerting Mr. Reed about the impending exchange. Meanwhile, Cole leaves the embassy just in time to make it to the meeting. Before arriving, Helen discreetly stashes her gun in Trent's jacket pocket. Once inside, they find the hostages, Kai Ming and Eleanor, being held in the heart of London. Just as it seems they will be allowed to leave, Alex Clark enters the room. At this moment, Helen pulls out the recorder and hands it over. Alex reviews the footage, confirming its authenticity. Unfortunately, Kai Ming also sees the moment her father was murdered by Trent. Meanwhile, Wallace is informed about the existence of the recording and immediately takes this news to the Prime Minister. The PM appears nervous and distracted, secretly messaging his contact to warn that the Americans are coming. His contact? The Clarks. Helen retrieves the gun from Trent's pocket, but Alex warns her not to use it, cautioning that it will trigger a chain reaction that could destroy everything. However, it soon becomes clear that Alex wasn't the one who killed Jason. It was Trent. He had been trying to fix his mistake with the ambassador's murder, but ultimately acted against his own family's interests. Outside, a tense standoff unfolds between US and Chinese agents. Inside, chaos erupts. Sam grabs the gun and kills Alex's bodyguard, then Alex, and finally Trent. Outside, agents from both sides are wiped out. Except for Cole, who survives. Helen is furious, believing Trent was her kill, but Sam embraces her and tells her it's over. However, they receive a chilling phone call. They are being watched, and they will be held responsible. As Cole survives the massacre, Helen hands him the recording. This convinces the Chinese to stand down, with all blame pinned on Stephen Yarrick. The recording also implicates others, including the Prime Minister himself. With the PM's downfall, Wallace is now in line to take over, much sooner than expected. That night, Helen meets Reed at a church. She reveals that Alex Clark is dead and explains the full story. The shocking truth? Maggie had been watching the ambassador's family all along. She had been selling stories about Kai Ming to the press for extra cash until MI5 recruited her. Maggie planted the camera in Kai Ming's flat. After reviewing the footage, she informed Philip, setting off a chain of events that led to Jason's death, Yarrick's involvement, and Helen becoming a target. Even more shocking, Jason was an MI5 agent all along. However, he never exposed Helen as a black dove. In his report, he simply described her as a loyal citizen and wife. Jason had protected her, risking everything, proving that his love for her was real. Reed hands Helen a USB drive, Jason's true story, a final Christmas gift to his black dove. But Helen chooses not to look into it. Instead, she drops the drive into the water, letting go of the past. Meanwhile, Sam returns to Michael, believing it's all finally over. But there's one last loose end. Hector. Inside Michael's apartment, Hector confronts Sam. He admits he hated his brothers, but was still bound to them by blood. Now he has a proposition. Sam should work for him. With the Clarks severely weakened, Hector wants to build something new and fight the storm that's coming. As Hector leaves, Michael witnesses the end of their conversation and confronts Sam. The two share a final goodbye kiss, realizing they will never have their happily ever after. Sam then goes to Lenny, gun in hand, seemingly ready to end their long-standing feud. However, he chooses not to pull the trigger. Whether he can truly trust her is left uncertain. Meanwhile, Helen returns home, and Wallace takes her hand as they watch their children open Christmas presents. Helen suggests that Sam should join them. Sam, still in London, tells Helen that if given the choice, he would do it all again, to protect her. The episode closes with a montage. Reed spending time with her daughter, and Williams, Kai Ming, and Eleanor finding comfort in each other's company.